people keep wondering.
Welcome to Business Insight. We are here having quite a delightful conversation off camera, and we have been talking about this quite a lot to talk about when it comes to entrepreneurship in Uganda, and of course looking at the potential. What can be done? What are those particular gaps? Are they being rectified? Or it's a little bit sluggish? Why is it that we keep on having a regurgitation of some of the same, cyclical gaps, of some of the same gaps within different empowerment programs? This is some of the things that we try to break down. And when we come here, it is more or less to invite a guest on Business Insight to give us insight on what is happening within their little spaces, within their spaces, big and small, and how does it translate to the bigger question. Coming in, we are focusing really on what do the youth want when it comes to financial products and different services. What do they want? What has worked out for them? We're talking about inclusion. Inclusivity has really been looking at women, persons with disabilities, the elderly, but of course also the youth. So we're breaking it down. We did have a conversation before, of course, talking with persons with disabilities earlier on, all throughout last week. So let's bring you a seasoned entrepreneur. Our guest today on set is Christine Liven Nagawa. She is the team lead for Livens Tasty Treats Limited. She's also a mentor, has done a little bit of mentorship, and is very keen to her. She says mentorship isn't just about giving advice, it's about fostering meaningful relationships, providing encouragement, and guiding others to find their own path to success. And of course, our topic today, just as we mentioned earlier, is all about facilitating youth-centered financial products and services. Welcome, Liven.
Thank you so much.
It's such a delight to have you.
Thank you so much, Darren.
You know, Liven, we were talking about the fact that your wonderful products, sometimes, if I can put it very nicely, you do not look like the products that you make. Has that been told to you a number of times?
Yeah, they say you look young,
yes,
and the products you make really look amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, a number of times I've had that.
And how does it make you feel? Because I am one of them. I am one of them that just told you the same thing. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I want to look at it in the positive way.
Definitely.
Yeah, the fact that they're expecting. Someone actually told me that when they contact me, they're expecting, because of the work they have seen, yeah, they're expecting a Goliath.
A Goliath.
Yes, that's what they say.
And what do they see?
And then they see a David coming.
That's better put in your David shoes.
Yes.
But I have seen a couple of wonderful products, and this is coming in from someone who is so young, and the workmanship is really, someone can say it is quite beyond you, but that is not intended to be on the negative side. It just gives you just a little bit of a sneak peek into the perceptions we have around excellence.
Yes.
Yes, it gives you that perception, just a sneak peek, yes, into the perception that we have around excellence. But also, I can imagine to myself, and this is so wonderful that you find yourself in such a position, because when I think about, this is the lady that made that huge, wonderful, beautiful cake that can literally be on a royal function.
Yes.
And I was like, wow. Well, you don't look like the things that you make. But it could be seen in a better light. But we're talking about exclusion right now. If you walked into a financial institution and asked for 40 million, given the wonderful products that you make, very beautiful. Haven't tested, but they really look quite beautiful. If you walked into a financial institution, would they take you the way the rest of the people take you? Have you tried getting out there and looking for monies, and how has been your experience?
I mean, it depends on so many things. Sometimes when you're looking for money, they put a lot of strings to the looking for the money. For instance, they can, it depends, they'll tell you they want to see a particular revenue, annual revenue, how are your cash flows, and all that, and that can either push you out or pull you in. So it depends. Sometimes they think or they feel like people that have done such products have big workspaces, big bakeries. These are people that have been in the industry for long,
years, for like 25 years.
Yes, like 25 years, 30 years. And those are the people they want to see. How are your cash flows for the 30 years, for the 25 years? And then there is this little one who is a youth and who wants to make it and doesn't have that much, 25 years or so, but is starting something, and they know that they can do this. They know that they can do this. But then they are pushed out by all that. Yes, by the books of accounts, by all that is literally for mostly the literate. So like now I do a lot of community trainings. I go deep down in the village to the least person. And the same thing you were telling me, when they're waiting for the person who's going to train them, they're waiting for a Goliath.
They're waiting for a Goliath. So at all fronts, and this is very wonderful that it's brought out in such a manner. At all fronts, if I can say it this way, at all fronts you are taken. The expectation is really another Goliath, yes?
Yes.
And we're talking about ages right now. We're talking about age. This Goliath aspect can be in age. It is, in your situation, it is the age because you are a youth, you're young.
Yes.
And then it was also coming out in your finances, yes, in your financial reportings. They're expecting a Goliath as well to be able to give you support, and yet you're not. So you are a budding entrepreneur, has the passion for confectionery, and makes wonderful, amazing things, but you don't have all those years of experience, and yet you literally, if they look at your stuff that you make, you are literally at a standpoint of that one. You are almost on the same footing as that one who has been there for 25 or 30 years. Let's first backtrack a little bit. How did it all begin, this confectionery stuff that you do?
Oh, amazing. It's a very beautiful question. So I studied from Uganda University. Uganda Christian University, that's UC in Mukono. And when I finished, I have always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Always?
Always.
What did you study?
I studied business administration.
Same, okay.
Right.
Yes.
They tell us to start businesses, right? Yeah. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And it's amazing how when you're getting out, everyone is thinking about looking for jobs.
Yeah.
Look for jobs, and then where are your parents working so that they can connect you. So we have people that were even studying, but they know they already have a job somewhere. And then there was some of us that were studying, but knew that you have to make it from scratch. Yes, so when I finished, I actually went to a pastry school.
Oh.
Yes, because that is what I was passionate about.
Okay.
So even when I was going to university, I knew I was passionate about confectionaries and baking. So I went to a confectionery school, Gifted Hands Pastry School, and I actually studied.
For how long?
For like 3 months, 4 months. But I stayed there so that I can keep, mastering, yes, and improving while I was taking in orders, even without any equipment.
Okay, whose
so
equipment
that is
were you
when
using?
Now that is when being disciplined and knowing what you want comes in, and the social capital comes in. So these people mentored me in a way that I would go and actually use their equipment.
Okay.
Yes, and that is how I started. And one thing led to another. I was the kind that would ask for money from you to use your money and actually give you a product. So you like it and you refer. And that is how it all started. But because of my love for always studying different things, I went to Academy of Women Entrepreneurs, did all these few courses that kept on pushing me to different sectors, different people, meeting different people. And from there, that's when I got to know that you have to register your business. You can't just work without, if you don't register your business, that means you will never grow. So those are the things I kept learning from the different spaces I went to. Yes, and that is how I kept on getting pushed, and that is how I mentored people and also started training so many youth and so many women.
All throughout there.
All throughout.
And this is hinged on a few statistics actually for your age bracket. Let me just give you just a hint of it. Reports say 80% of young entrepreneurs have not received support from any existing policies or schemes to help them boost their businesses. And when they do receive some sort of support, normally it does not work out as intended because they don't have the right literacy skills, they don't have the right support needed to weather them through, to take them through for a longer duration of time. Even when those are two things in one, they 80% are still locked out as youth. And even then it comes on just still about the attitudes, it comes in about the lack of expertise, the lack of skills really. You talked about the fact that when you got out of school, you still went in and did your time. I call it did your time.
Yes.
Did your time in pastry schools. You were intentional about it. Instead of just saying, you know what, let me get 20,000 and start off and make this sort of product fast. Then I can get a couple of things. And this is what they normally do. Let me just get my 50,000, my 100,000, start immediately. I can get onto YouTube. I can learn from YouTube. Let's what made you go to pastry school and not to YouTube?
YouTube. So we have so many YouTube learners, actually. I call them YouTube bakers. There are so many. But then when you realize there is something about physical and the hands-on. The hands-on goes a long way more than actually to YouTube. And also I knew that I wasn't doing this for just the short run. I was going in for a long...
literally all your eggs.
All my eggs in one basket. So I really had to give it all. But I'm very grateful that I have a very supportive mother. So she paid for even when I asked, she did not. And that's why I think sometimes parents are supposed to actually nurture their children, to actually nurture their passion. So when I said I wanted to go for bakery school, even after university and getting a degree, she wasn't saying, oh, you're going to
for
go
what?
into
You're going to
flour.
waste
For
my
what?
money.
My money. So she actually paid and I went because she knew when you're passionate about something, you never know where it can take you. I mean, skill is very, very important.
Don't actually do the shortcuts on that.
Yes, so you don't have to do the shortcut of YouTube. YouTube cannot teach you everything. At least YouTube will help you polish what you know.
What you already know.
Yes, and it will help you diversify. Like, I know this, but let me try out this. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to the basics that I have learned via hands-on skills.
Bringing some new details and some information. But before we get further and further into this confectionery and the monies attached to it, let's take a short break and we will be right back after this. Welcome back from the break. We are still here talking to this wonderful young lady who is into confectionery, and we are still talking about really looking at youth-friendly financial products and services. Now, Liven comes in, Liven Nagawa. Liven Christine Nagawa is the team lead for Livens Tasty Treats. And this is confectionery, all about all these sweet things that they tell us not to take in big bulk, but we still take. That is the thing about it. Now, just as we have coined here in this particular conversation, it is actually, as we were mentioning off camera, the David Goliath aspect when it comes to inclusive services, especially for the youth. Inclusive services, financial services, when it comes for the youth. You get to see that you are downplayed because there's a stereotype that is out there of perfection. There's a stereotype. And that particular stereotype, because it exists, that you find most of the youth are still being locked out of accessing finances. They are still being locked out of some of the jobs opportunities and the placements because they don't have the experience. You have to be a Goliath, and yet you are actually not a Goliath, but you have Goliath within you, that sort of thing. Now, getting back to how you started and that your mother believed in you and pushed you right into it. When you started off and took in this other extra skilling for the confectionery bit of it, did it add so much onto you? Did it change the way you looked at the business side of it? What changed away from passion, saying, I'm passionate about this, I want to do this, now I have the skill? How did it transition into business?
So into the skilling, right?
Yes, from the passionate side of it. How did it now get to, oh, I've made you a cake. I hope you love it. Yes, to, yes, I have made you a cake and it costs 80,000 and it costs 150. And no, I cannot accept 70. When did it transition to that?
Yeah. So at first it was basically passion. You're passionate about this thing, but you do not know, you're not looking at the long run into this thing. And then afterwards, while you are making these different products for these people and they like them and they keep preferring you and you keep making, that's when you now notice the profit. And you're like, this business is juicy. So now you begin like looking at it in a business way of even when you give me 80,000, since I do not pass, I shall not take it in. Now, how does it transition into skilling and how does the skilling now impact? Later, when you are baking and you are doing all these amazing products, people will keep coming to you. How do you bake this? How do you finish off? How do you do all this? And then you try and start, even those that don't have money, because you have the passion and you're passionate about the youth and you know that these are people in your same age bracket, you take them on. You're like, come home. I can train as you see what I'm doing and you actually take it on. I have people that right now look at me as mama. They call me mama and they're older than me. Why? Because they feel like you have impacted. Now, after doing that for a few people, that's when I noticed it hits you that this is more satisfactory to impact others. And after that, it hits you that these people are actually looking up to you. Now you have to mentor them. And now that is when now I went into the, how about that one that is deep down in the community and doesn't have the money that you had to pay at the institute? How do you help them to come out? These people are young mothers. They are teenagers that have dropped out of school. And then when you go down there and the satisfaction that you get is just amazing. It is just worth it. It's worth anything that you can put out there for them. And then when you actually go to them, it's funny how they'll bring back business to you because they will talk to people and then they won't be able to make the cakes you make by then, and then they'll come back to you and give you the business. Oh, are you seeing?
Which goes against the grain of people being selfish. Yes, it totally goes against the grain, and which encourage the other perspective that tends to be very selfish and says, I won't pass on my skills because this person here is going to take business away from me. You understand? Yeah. You've met that breed. Yes. We call it that breed. That breed of entrepreneurs that just does not want to pass on the skills because they feel if they pass on the skills, then you're going to eat more and more into their clientele. Yeah. So when it comes down to impact investing and all that, and then of course seeing that there's a backtrack, that they come back still and give you businesses, are you pushing on sustainability for them to be able to handle and move on with their businesses as well? Yeah.
Of course, yes. But what you do is you, like say they've given you the business, you bring them in so that while you're doing this, they are right there doing it with you. So that tomorrow they're able to do it themselves.
On their own.
Yes. And when they do it, I have people that now they can send you money and say that is for juice. Why? Because they feel like now they're doing the business on their own without you. And it's helping, it's impacting, it's helping them in their also livelihood as they go about life. They feel like because she added this skill to me, I'm able not to just sit home, but to actually go about this business and be able to earn from it.
Now, just a little bit of more info. Only a third of Ugandan youth, or in the different surveys that as respondents, had received a specific skill in these particular surveys that were carried out last year, or training for their businesses. Well, in Kenya, almost half. Yes, now with Ugandans, it is a third. But with Kenya, it is most of the half, actually, of the youth that had been included in some of these surveys had a skill, had actually gone out for the skill. Now, with the onset of YouTube and the fact that you have quite a number that have been successful, that have gone there on YouTube and made a name for themselves with the skills that have been passed on YouTube, and its development, really, technologically speaking, because as part of technology, it is being pushed forward for continuous skilling and being able to pass on some of these wonderful things, marketing and all that. What especially comes to mind when you are talking about youth participating and being able to get skills from technological platforms such as YouTube and all this? Is it something that is sustainable, or it's supposed to be in tandem with something else, with the hands-on skilling?
I think it's not sustainable. I think it has to go hand in hand with the hands-on, because I don't think you'll ask YouTube questions like, so now I am doing this, how do I go about my business? How do I, now that I've finished this, I have studied, I now know, I have now studied my business, how am I going to go to URSB and be able to register my business? And then if I register, how is it trademark? Like, what comes after what? I don't think it can give you that, like, this conversational bit where you're conversing with someone and they are advising you, I have been there in this Ugandan setting, and this is how it's supposed to be done. Now, yes, you have learned the skill. Do you want a sustainable business? If yes, we are now going to register it. You're not just going to be doing the business from home without registering it. So now you have registered the trading license and all that. I don't think you're going to find that.
The follow-up, yes? The follow-up, the one-on-one follow-up
mentorship.
In mentorship.
Thank
the
you
follow-up cannot be got from. What about ChatGPT?
Wow.
Yes. This has really been taken on because it in one way or another, depending on how you ask. Yes, it is quite popular among the masses because it takes on, it has the ability to be funny and also to be very formal, depending on the questions that you get to ask. The same with Alexa, the same with different, all these different, they are trying to be as individualized as possible on a personal level. Those still do not meet the satisfaction bar.
No,
they don't.
They do not.
What is missing?
ChatGPT is not going to tell you, please go and talk to Doreen. She is in charge of Girl Project, and she's going to tell you more about Girl Project. Yes, that is on. Please go and talk to her, and she will help you to find out what do you need for you to get through and get funding. Yes, but it will give you
what you ask for.
General knowledge of, but not going deep into the country kind of, now this is Uganda that you're looking at. Yes.
It will not, what you're saying is that it will not really look at your situational context.
Exactly.
It will not look at, and even predetermine and say, oh, by the way, you may have a challenge here.
Yes.
It will just stick to the question, and maybe if at all they're in a particular tabs for suggestions, it may make a suggestion, but that suggestion may not necessarily fit within the Ugandan context.
Right.
That comes in straight. We are learning as well on, because sometimes they just think technology is the way to go for the future and may not necessarily take into consideration some of these fears. Right. What are the fears when you get to talk to the youth entrepreneurs out there when it comes to accessing monies and the fact that they want this huge list of things, and then of course there's the stereotyping? What is their main impediment? What is their main fear?
So I will. Should I just talk about like the most recent one that everyone is talking about, and that's the Girl Project. It's the most recent one that everyone is talking about, and some of the fears, I mean, even yesterday I was talking to someone and they were asking me about all this girl project thing. And, you know, it has been put into the banks and the banks have requirements. Now, the youth of my age group are not going to be able to sort all those requirements to get that funding, and yet they actually need the funding and they will actually use it very well. And then the short loan payment period, because say I go to the bank and borrow, say I've gone through with the requirements and now I have to borrow, say, 70 million to buy equipment and put it in the business. You're not going to tell me that in 2 years my business will have the 70 million back and that interest back. I think if it was more longer period, and then they also give you a grace period of, let's say, like 3 months before, I think it would be better. But if you give me a short repayment period, and then you want me to pay plus the interest in 2 years, with the kind of businesses in our country, I do not think that is fair enough. It's not sustainable. And then the requirements, I mean, I think we need... those are some of the queries, and I think we need a lot of financial literacy, because you think about, now me who has dealt with so many youth that are deep down in the village, in communities, I do not think even half of those will be able, none of them would qualify for those requirements of the bank. And besides, they don't even know how to read and write. I have trained people who cannot read and write. I have trained a deaf person in my last one, and I had to use signs for them to understand. So how are they going to actually access even this information?
It will be very difficult.
It will be very difficult. And even you, when you go to talk to them, you're not going to talk to everyone. You won't be able to access everyone. Yes, so I think those are some of the challenges, and then there is a lot of financial literacy that is needed, but also not forgetting those people that are down, deep down in the community.
The last mile people.
Yes.
Let's even talk about, not even just even the last mile, let's even talk about these ones within the urban centers. Yes, your friends, those ones that you have talked to, the ones that you have mentored or gone to, and you have trained them and they want to be able to grow, and they say, we are still, yes, I got 500,000 from here, but I see I have lots and lots of potential. I wish someone would lend me 5 million. I wish someone would lend me 10 million. When they get out, because they say that there are lots of youth monies lying around idle, untapped there, you have heard about them.
Yes.
Why don't you tap into that?
We don't even know where that money is that they're talking about. You know, they keep saying there is a lot of youth money there lying down, but where is it?
Have you tried getting out into the banks and asking whether there's a facility tailored for youth?
Yes, you go out to the banks and you ask, but not everyone is going to go out to the banks and ask.
Yes.
But even when you ask, you'll find that the requirements, the collateral, how many youth have that collateral?
Not so many.
Not so many.
So you're still locked out,
Not
even
so
despite?
Many. Yes.
Now, what we are trying to find out here, and this is insight here, business insight coming in from Smart 24 TV, is what is out there, what is down on ground, and what is being portrayed out whenever some of these key players are talking. This is what we would want to find out. No matter how many times they are talking about, apart from those who benefited from the Youth Livelihood Fund, did you?
No, I did not.
Why didn't you?
I think they didn't actually, there was no, what should I call it, proper awareness.
Proper awareness
of
but
it.
It wasn't. It was all over media houses. It was all over the papers. Would you prefer that they come out to maybe to the communities? They were at particular communities. I can't say that in some of the areas, Kawempe, Nakawa, all these places they were
and I
there.
wish they could involve more the youth to talk to fellow youth.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand.
The peers.
Yes. Instead of putting people that are
old.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that one.
Let's say it as it is.
Yes, instead of putting people that are old to be able, because these people do not know. They haven't gone on ground they are not on ground to know what is happening, to know the challenges that are happening down here in the communities. So I wish they could actually look at that. It could actually help.
It would help that much. What would it help?
Because this person is on ground. Yeah. This person is able to talk to another youth, who talks to another, you know, who goes on social media and all these things, so that people are able to actually know better than an old person who will be able to just tell the few people around them. And not to pass on the word. Yes, and not the people on ground that are actually seeing these youth and are actually interacting with these youth and seeing whatever they are going through.
So peer-to-peer would actually do much better. Not even just from the very beginning of program design, but even down to the implementation.
Yes.
What is that particular thing that you look at and say, you know what, as a business, as someone, as an entrepreneur, I wish this would be corrected apart from peer-to-peer, yes? What is that 1 or 2, 3 things that you look at and say, because of what I've seen and we have talked about with my friends, my fellow entrepreneurs, and what I've seen across the divide, those in the urban centers and those in the rural places, what are those 3 things that you'd say, I wish this was changed so that we as youth can be able to access more monies? I wish this, maybe 3, 4 things were changed. And some of these can change. It does not mean that it has to be the same for the rural person who is maybe has not gone far in schooling. That can change. So I would want that you break it down into the urban center and then the rural center. Just give us 3 things.
1, I wish the taxes. I wish they could look at these young businesses and at least give them grace period and not just tax them immediately, because I have noticed that you talk to people and the main thing is, I'm going to register my business, yes, but the next thing is the tax man is coming onto my door anytime. So that you find that that's the most scare of all these people. They're doing things behind there, but they're wondering, if I only make a mistake and register my business, because when you're mentoring these youth and when you're mentoring the entrepreneurs, we keep telling them, register your business. But they say, if I only registered my business, trust me, the tax man is going to be at my door before. And even when they don't, the tax man doesn't come immediately, like in the 1 year, the moment the tax man comes, you don't tell them anything.
They want it.
They want the money, and they will give you a huge sum of money to tax you that you have not seen in your little business. You have not even experienced that kind of revenue, and they'll come and say, this is what we think you are making. So the taxes.
The taxes.
Yes, that is 1. Number 2, I feel like there is a lot of financial literacy needed. Because sometimes, yes, we see the banks, but you're thinking about banks being for the literate. That's what these people actually, when I'm, interacting with them, this is what they think. Banks are for the literates. If I go into the bank, they will be like, there is nothing for free. They'll be asking for money.
Every minute they'll be asking for money.
And then this person even doesn't have that money. The collateral, I wish they could, I don't know, find a way of, if this is a youth and they're seeing what they're actually doing, I wish they could find a way of scraping off that collateral. Like not putting such collateral for people that can't even own.
But with other programs coming in, if it's the Youth Livelihood Fund, if it is other different, whether it's PDM right now, there is quite a lot of very low recovery rate with youth. You're saying they should scrap off the collateral, but then the youth that have been picking up these monies are not bringing it back. So what guarantee is there for a bank right now that you're talking to and saying, can you, please give me some money without collateral, unsecured monies? But then what is being shown out there on the Youth Livelihood Fund itself, quite a lot of monies were not recovered.
But you see, that's what I was saying, is the repayment period is short.
They should make it
very
longer.
short, yes. I mean, if you give me a longer repayment period, even my cash flows are not going to be stressed. I'm not going to be stressed about paying a loan, and then I am stressed the cash flows are not also coming in because all I'm thinking about is paying this loan. Yes. But if you give me a grace period of say 3 months work, then we shall start calculating the repayment period. I mean, if there was a repayment period of 10 years and 5, I would go in for the one of 10 years.
The longer one.
The longer one.
Instead of the shorter one.
Instead of the shorter one.
Yeah.
Because this will help me. I'll be having grace period to think about it. The cash flows will not be, you know, affected. Like if it's just 2 years.
So you've talked about the taxation, the taxes,
yes,
and then the grace period for repayment.
Right.
That is also very scary.
Right.
But that also may lead to one of the reasons why most of the businesses do not actually go through their first year, because the monies, the returns are very small, and sometimes you have to pay back these monies after 1 month, right? So paying back these monies means you're literally dipping back into the capital that you got, and this is why in most cases the businesses, because if you start off from just, let us say you're supposed to pay back 100,000 and the profit that you made was 70, now on that little profit that you made, you're taking off your 30 to take care of yourself and all this, so there is 40 left, but they want 70, yes, they want 100, they want 100. So literally you're going to be forced to go back into the capital and remove something as well. What would it be particularly, especially when it comes to financial literacy? What would it be? Because you are assuming that yes, you were in UCU, another is in MOOBS. How literate do you want to be financially? If these particular institutions maybe are not grooming you to that particular level, what other thing do you want?
I feel like when you go to university, and then there is someone who is doing business and they didn't go to university. Yes. So, but if you go to university, at that point, you don't know anything. You're not on ground. You haven't done any business.
The application.
Yes. You don't know anything. At that point, you are actually studying things so that you're able to pass and excel and get a degree. That's all you are thinking about. I don't want a retake. I want to just get a degree and move out of here and look for a job. Yeah, and maybe be connected and things like that. But then when you get now onto the ground, now
it's a totally different story.
Thank you. It's when now you have the valid questions that you did not ask when you're in the university.
Now this is the contradiction, because when you get out there, you did business administration. So they think, yes, any other person who gets to you as a business, someone who has graduated and you have a very good GPA, and everyone is looking at you and saying this one will manage. But what you actually have is the theory part of it.
Thank you very much.
Now, by the time you come down on ground, you literally are not able to transition, to translate this theory into practice.
Right.
And this is where even the financial literacy that they are talking about that maybe should be for the rural person, the last mile person, it actually should even be for the urban person who has gone through school. That is what you're saying.
Yes.
That is quite something to digest, that it is not as obvious as you think, that the transitioning, the more you should have more practicality than when it comes to financial literacy. Do you think that they should be able to give the person who has already started business rather than the person who hasn't started?
Actually, that's what I was going to come up to. And I was going to say that even when they're doing this financial literacy, the people that are supposed to do this are people that are into business.
Yeah.
And they know the right challenges that we are facing, because they're also facing the same challenges. Not to bring someone who knows the theory, they're the manager of what bank, so they have all the theory on paper.
On paper.
Yes, to come and teach. All they have is theory on paper. But trust me, they have not done business.
But the others who carry out surveys and the research on their behalf.
Yeah, but they are not on ground.
So they will not.
They do not know the right challenges. They have not faced the challenges themselves. What they've done is they've done the research and they have everything on paper. Like I said, everything is just on paper. but they have not
stepped in your shoes.
Stepped in my shoes. But someone who has stepped in my shoes, like now if I went to talk to people, I know the challenges I'm going through. They're the same challenges they're going through. So it's easier for me to relate
to them and come up with different solutions.
Exactly, than someone else who has no idea.
This is really, it's quite mind-blowing that sometimes what is assumed to be outside there and the best solution, especially when it comes to even financial literacy, when it comes to access to finances for the youth, capital and all that, sometimes it may not actually seem as appropriate as it should be. And this is why maybe there's a very high challenge with the effectiveness of some of the youth-inclined, youth-centered business strategies that are down on ground. We would want to see more success rates going on. What do you think, in just 1 or 2 minutes, just 1 minute as we close up, what do you think would be the most ideal advice for the business, for the youth right now within business, and then the one that wants to get into business and they're really passionate, especially about getting into the business space? What should they be more insistent on to be able to thrive and to be successful?
So I think, first of all, I feel like entrepreneurship, or say like these people that bringing resources to us, I think it's more than that. I think there is a mentorship bit where you can train the youth or the entrepreneurs to know that it's not about only the, what should they call them, the handouts, but it's also about us getting to know that we can actually create our own solutions. For instance, if you're, like I'm part of a circle, and for instance, if like we started a circle, say the Academy of Women Entrepreneurship Circle, and say we are now saving and people are getting loans, but at a very low now, like ours is 2%, at a very low. Now why? You're not frustrating the entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wish such things would be taught to the entrepreneurs, that we can actually go ahead and actually create our own solutions.
Okay.
Yes.
And save more.
And save more.
Okay.
And be able to thrive in our businesses and add something, add a brick, one brick per brick, into our businesses. But also to someone that is going to begin the business, I mean, it's just one thing: never giving up.
Never giving up.
Keep on, keep pushing. You just don't know when your breakthrough will come.
Have you had those moments where you wanted to give up?
Oh yes, I just had those episodes recently.
Just give us one as we wrap up and we see how resilient you are.
I was actually telling someone, people in the communities were calling me for trainings and I did not have money now to go out down there. And I felt like, oh my God, I feel like I'm a failure. And yet everyone is looking up to you.
Yes.
And I was talking to my mates and I tell them, I feel like I'm a failure. I feel like I am not getting there. There are goals that you have and you feel like you're not accomplishing them. And I remember they told me, sometimes it's okay to feel like that. But one thing I know is if you get up and you know that I'm not giving up, you will, some of that rest will help you to actually push even to a higher, to push you further.
Just don't give up.
Just don't give up. Just hang in there and know that one day, you will make it.
And this has been Christine Liven Nagawa sharing with us those little tiny details that sometimes get left out of program implementation and maybe program design. Let us be very keen, even as we reach out and look at inclusivity as a total package, especially when it comes to youth, women, persons with disability, as well as the elderly. It would be very interesting and worthwhile to be able to get to the last mile person and know that whatever package, whatever product, whatever service financially that I have, it is tailor-made appropriately to suit the needs, the current needs, as well as the future needs of this last client. It is worthwhile. This has been Christine Liven Nagawa, team lead of Livens Tasty Treats Limited, and the topic that we have had today is facilitating youth-centered financial products and services. Thank you so much, Liven, for joining us.
Thank you so much for hosting.
And we wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, this has been Doreen Kemcha, Business Insight, giving you the latest insight on pertinent issues happening within the country and elsewhere. Please join us. It happens every Monday to Friday from 9 to 10. Please join us tomorrow as we talk about another issue, especially in regards with whatever finances are available, especially for women and the youth. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.